All of these things is people fearing change. Jack Dorsey's like, well, I don't want this Web3 thing. I just want Bitcoin. And, the Ethereum guys are like, we don't want Solana and Terra and Avalanche. Everybody fears change. The traditional media fears change. The banking industry fears change. When change is happening so fast and it's not being driven by one entity, it's this broadly spread phenomena. It's scary because you don't feel in control.
Yeah.
So I think the gamers feel the same way. Somebody's walked into their world and told them that they can change it. And they're like, no, but you can't. So the metaverse is not a single destination. It is the increasing digitalization of our lives. So right here we are now. I'm in the Cayman Islands. You guys are in Brazil. This is basically a metaverse experience. This is a digital experience that did not exist 5-6 years ago.
Mhm.
So, and we now take it for granted. So there's a lot of people, like half of the entire staff at Real Vision I've never met in person because of this new metaverse. Distributed workplaces are basically metaverse experiences.
Mhm.
So everything is being digitized. The acceleration of that digitization is the metaverse. So when we live in this digital, increasingly digital world, then it becomes increasingly difficult for me to exchange value with you until we've built out this blockchain infrastructure that allows us to exchange value digitally, instantaneously around the world. And it's a network that nobody owns. So, that is a great thing. But as Web3 rolls out, we will stop spending our lives arguing over Solana versus Terra or Bitcoin versus Ethereum. And we all care about the consumer applications of stuff that people won't know or care is Bitcoin. We don't talk about, oh, we're on an internet connection today. We don't care. We're on Zoom. And it could be Zoom, or it could be Microsoft Teams, or it could be whatever. We don't really care either. I don't even know what computer you're on. You don't know what I'm on, what internet network you're on. None of that matters. But it's the consumer application that's going to come. And NFTs were the first sight of a consumer application. They're still very geeky. It's still a crappy environment. The wallets are still impossible. Most people don't understand why you want to own a stupid picture of a monkey. None of this really makes sense. The art market was a little more understandable. But my guess is once large communities of culture, so music and sports predominantly, and probably fashion, those three are probably the largest cultural influences in the world. Once they start adopting it, which is happening at NFT level, but I think it's also going to happen at social tokens level, then we will all understand what it means to have the Web3 idea of a stake in a network. And that's the game changer. And we won't think of it as a cryptocurrency or whatever thing. It's like you're participating in that network. It's much like if we'd had all been given shares in Facebook when Facebook launched, we would have all participated in that network. We didn't know, the shareholders. Everybody fears change, right? That's just a human thing. And the rate of change here is extremely fast. So the gamers were a distinct group of people that had their little world and they knew how it worked. This other world has walked into their world and said, hey, we can bring value where you can move this stuff across games and you can own your things. They're like, back off, this is ours. And it's the same that Jack Dorsey's having with
also Discord integrating.
All of these things is people fearing change. Jack Dorsey's like, well, I don't want this Web3 thing. I just want Bitcoin. And, the Ethereum guys are like, we don't want Solana and Terra and Avalanche. Everybody fears change. The traditional media fears change. The banking industry fears change. When change is happening so fast and it's not being driven by one entity, it's this broadly spread phenomena. It's scary because you don't feel in control. Yeah. So I think the gamers feel the same way. Somebody's walked into their world and told them that they can change it. And they're like, no, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Is without going into the 2 hours of history and everything within this, is our monetary system and system of value is broken. The ownership and the monopolies that control a lot of this are something that most people have become uncomfortable with. And here we have a new world, this digital world that is distributed, that has less intermediaries. And it's a world where we can create endless GDP because you're not constrained by natural resources. In Brazil, what is the largest driver of natural resources? Agriculture and energy. So that is a constraint on the GDP of the country. So the amount of money sloshing around, amount of opportunity as you guys as entrepreneurs is actually a direct correlation to how fast GDP can grow. And you've got other monetary issues. Brazil has always had a relative level of instability with its currency and other issues. So here we go in a new digital world where you can create digital sovereign states of which you can operate in as a Brazilian that has nothing to do with the Brazilian economy. And it's limitless. There's no boundary. So that's why it becomes the new universe. Here we are walking away from an old broken system, which is Brazil 1.0. And here you are walking into world 2.0. You're not constrained as a Brazilian. I'm not constrained because I'm in the Cayman Islands. So we can build businesses like you guys are, which exist everywhere. And again, we're showing that here today. Well, I'm in the Cayman Islands, you're in Brazil. We're doing this in English. It'll be translated in Portuguese. And what we're doing is creating a globalized piece of content. I mean, it's really interesting. Those things were not easy to do before. Now it's almost frictionless. The fact that we're in different countries is frictionless. We have no issues whatsoever.
So basically